We are making a custom Magic the Gathering cube, a set of 360 cards that are completely brand new to the game of Magic and meant to be drafted amongst 8 people. But what are we basing our cards on? None other than the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. Since the MCU will keep expanding until the heat death of the universe, we have developed the Segmented Cube. This means there is a 120 card base set that offers powerful yet generic support for a wide range of archetypes, followed by 8 30-card movie packs that focus on the main heroes and villains of the MCU. In the future, as more Marvel projects come out, we can add more movie packs and add them to the cube in a modular fashion. Join us each Wednesday as we show off at least 30 of the newest cards we've been working on. And here's the next group now. And we're back in Magic Set Editor, or MSE. We're going to keep going over some more cards that we've got for the core set here, although we've been making a bunch of progress on the special movie packs, so those should be coming out, videos on those in the next coming weeks, so keep an eye out for those. But right now, we've got some exciting cards, mostly commons and uncommons, a couple rares here, rounding out a lot of the kind of baseline of the set. I find this to be more important since you're going to be seeing more common and uncommon cards when drafting, that getting a good handle on what these common and uncommon cards are looking like can help you fill out the spots that you're missing in creating a positive draft environment when you're trying to decide your rares and mythics. So we've got Coulson's cards here. This is from Avengers 1. This is the motivating factor that Captain Nick Fury uses to motivate the team after Coulson dies to Loki. It's a 3-mana white instant. Creatures you control get +1/+1. If a creature you control died this turn, put a 1/1 counter on creatures you control instead. This starts the at least a little bit of a sub-theme within mono white, your cards get better when your creatures die. Mono white tends to have a lot of creatures on it, and a lot of the white archetypes tend to make a lot of creatures. So this kind of going along with the Avengers of like trying to avenge things, right? Your creatures are dying, you got to get them back. This is the first card we got there. Next up, in a similar vein, we've got Tiny Agents from Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. 3-mana sorcery. This spell costs 2 less to cast if a creature you control died this turn. Create 2 1/1 white human creature tokens. So yes, these are the Tiny Agents joke that Iron Man makes to Hawkeye's kids. The 2/1 white human creature tokens are his kids. Next up, we've got one from Black Panther. Black Panther is not one of the movie sets that we're doing for the first 8. Black Panther will almost certainly eventually get his own movie pack, but at least for the core 8, he's not in that. So we get to reference some Black Panther cards in our core set here. We've got I Never Freeze. This is one of my favorite lines from the movie. It was in the trailers. It was a funny line. I like it. And I think it works really, really well in Magic specifically. So it's a 1-mana instant. It says untap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. It's a very interesting and unique effect because this scene here is T'Challa saying I never freeze and then going down to the fight and seeing his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend and freezing up. And so in Magic, freeze is like a colloquial term for tapping a creature and it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So I never freeze is untapping the creature, and then but it still doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. I think this card has a lot of flexibility and utility in it, and a very, very clean and flavorful effect. I really, really like this card. Next up, we got Backstab. We do have Coulson dying here. This is a 2-mana sorcery in black. It says destroy target creature that attacked you since your last turn. This is a little bit tricky to track, and this might get revised on its trigger condition. I do want it to be a 2-mana sorcery, and a lot of 2-mana sorceries at common in black have restrictions or upside and downside when casting a destroy creature spell. This is the restriction that we're putting on this one. This, like I said, this might be a little too complicated to track to remember exactly which creatures attacked you since last turn, but the intent for this draft is to be played in 1v1s. You draft with 8 people and then you pair off into 1v1 games, so this shouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but this will have to go through like actual live play testing in order to make sure that it's okay. Next up, we got Neil. This is Loki yelling to all of the citizens of Germany after he just stole a guy's eye for Hawkeye to break into a secure facility. It's a 4-mana sorcery in black. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Non-black creatures get an additional -1/-1 until end of turn. This is a very powerful spell. This Neil, I think, is pretty flavorful. All creatures get -2/-2 or sometimes -3/-3. This is making them smaller. It's shrinking them. It's making their power smaller. They're making their toughness smaller. So it is making them literally kneel. Next up, we've got Full Force of a Star. This is one of my favorite lines in Infinity War when Eitri says to Thor, it'll kill you, and Thor responds, only if I die. So that is our flavor text down here.
Full Force of a Star is a 4-mana red sorcery that deals 5 damage to target creature. It just hits them with the Full Force of a Star. This might get pushed up to like 6 or 7 damage. 4-mana sorcery that only does 5 damage is not great on rate, especially since it's locked only to creatures, and it is a common, so there's potentially room to push it a little bit more. Then we've got Turned by the Scepter, a 3-mana red sorcery. The spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a creature with mana value 2 or less. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. So this is a classic threaten effect with a little bit of a boost thrown onto it, since this is an uncommon. Threaten was like the original card, the gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap it gains haste. And we've got our first creature here, we've got the Obelisk. The Guardians of the Galaxy is one of our movie packs, but a lot of the villains from the movie packs don't end up making it into those movie packs, because that's what the villains pack is for, the Thanos pack is for. Also, I think this works great as a core set card. The Obelisk is a 6-mana 5/5 in green. When the Obelisk enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact because it eats the Annulax batteries. Just this kind of disenchant effect is quite useful. It's potential to make this also destroy enchantments, but I think that just destroying artifacts is fine. Flavor-wise, it doesn't really destroy enchantments. It eats the batteries, which are almost definitely artifact. And next up, we've got our first rare for this batch, the Ant-Man. He is a 2-mana 2/2 in green. These are kind of some of the different forms of Ant-Man. We've got him becoming a 1/1 and gaining hexproof, and he can't be blocked. This is him when he is incredibly small, like quantum small. Ant-Man becomes a 2/2 and gains flying. This is when he is small mode, flying on the on Antony or Antoinette, depending on what movie you're looking at. And then Ant-Man becomes a 4/4 and gains trample. This is Giant Ant-Man. A 4/4 with trample that could be swinging on turn 3 is quite strong. Also, the ability to do this at instant speed means that if you can keep up a bunch of mana, you can swing with him as a 1/1 that can't be blocked, and then turn him into a 2/2 with, or a 4/4 with trample after your no blockers have been declared, which is quite strong. Also, he comes with some innate protection. If they try to kill him with a kill spell, you can make him go small and he gains hexproof. If your opponents try to attack into you with a flyer, you can make him become a 2/2 with flying to be an emergency blocker there. Next up, we've got Bruce Banner, our first mythic that I think we've seen outside of the Infinity Gauntlet all set. Bruce Banner is a 5-mana green 1/1. If Bruce Banner would die, create a 7/7 green brute creature token named Hulk with trample and exile it until the token dies. So the exile it here refers to Bruce Banner. So if Bruce Banner would die, you instead create Hulk, and then Bruce Banner exiles until Hulk dies. So when Hulk dies, Bruce Banner comes back. This represents Bruce Banner transforming between himself and the Hulk. You can stop these by exiling them or bouncing them. If you kill Bruce Banner and then you come out with the Hulk token and you bounce the Hulk token, it stops the loop. The Hulk token has to die. That's what this word here is for. The Hulk token has to die in order for Bruce Banner to come back. So if you can deal with the Hulk token or just like exile Bruce Banner or bounce him or whatever, this is definitely a very, very powerful card. He's one of the core Avengers. He is a mythic. He's meant to be powerful. But there's definitely ways to play around this, though in a draft environment, they are quite hard to do. There's not many ways to play around this, admittedly. Next up, we got Professor Hulk from Infinity War, a 5-mana 5/5 in green. This spell can't be countered, and you pay 3 mana, including a green, tap him, and another target creature you control phases out. This is Professor Hulk sending people through time, or more accurately, sending time through them. I'm aware that this phases out thing is not a terribly green effect. The spell can't be countered is quite green, 5-mana 5/5, quite green. He doesn't have trample because Professor Hulk doesn't like to smash things. The phases out here is quite useful. He can't do it on himself, so he is still weak to removal. Though having an onboard protection from your other creatures is quite strong. Next up, we've got Puny God from Avengers 1. It's a 2-mana sorcery in green. Target creature you control gains trample until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. This is a very powerful punch spell at an uncommon rarity. This is you smashing your opponent in the face, whipping their Loki around, and dealing excess damage to the opponent themselves. This is a quite powerful removal spell, but I think it's quite good in green. Next up, we've got a series of cards that are similar to the Groot from last video. These are called Archetype Uncommons, or Archons. These are 2-mana cards that are sit at uncommon that are supposed to be build-arounds for the color pair. So first up, we've got Abomination as our green-black Archon. He's a 6-mana 4/4 in green-black with trample, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. He is a big abomination. He smashes you. He rips a card out of your hand. Just a big dumb dude with a little bit of hand control. Like this a lot. Next up, we've got Alexander Pierce, who is our white-black Archon. He's a 3-mana 2/3 in white-black. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 3 or more life this turn, gain 1 life. This is one of the people in Avengers 2, Captain America 2, Winter Soldier, who is S.H.I.E.L.D., but then turns Hydra, which is why he's a human spy. This is a good combination of white and black effects. Next up, we've got Brock Rumlow. This is Crossbones before he becomes Crossbones and gets a building dropped on him. He is a 4-mana 3/3 in red-white. He has First Strike, and whenever he dies, he deals its power into target creature. This is him kind of like doing his explosion thing. This is tying into his crossbones aspect. He is leader of the strike team in Winter Soldier while he is still pretending to be a shield agent, so that's why he gets his first strike. And when he is crossbones, when he gets beat by Cap and Scarlet Witch and Falcon in the beginning of Civil War, he blows himself up. And so that, I think that this captures his flavor very, very well. Next up, we've got Ego. He is a 4-mana star 3 or X3. With vigilance, and Ego's powers equal the number of creatures you control. This is good guy Ego, not I'm going to eat the world Ego. But this power equal the number of creatures you control is representative of his ultimate goals. He has vigilance. He's a giant planet. He can monitor everything that's happening on his planet. The more children that he has, the stronger that he gets. So this is represent. It's also a very green white effect. I thought this worked pretty well. Next up, we've got Caecilius, a 4-mana 3/3 in black and red. Whenever Caecilius attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, Caecilius gets +2/+2 and menace until end of turn. This is the kind of villain in Doctor Strange. It's not Dormammu, but it's like Dormammu's helper guy. When he attacks, you sacrifice another creature. He sacrifices his own men to gain power from the Dark Realm. And if you do, he gets +2/+2, gaining power from the Dark Realm, and menace until end of turn because he gets the spooky eye treatment. I think this works really well. I think this is very flavorful. I think this works great for him. It's a very powerful creature. Next up, we got Laufey, the technical villain for Thor 1 before Loki kind of like takes center stage. He is a 1/3 for 4. He's got Death Touch, and when he enters the battlefield, draw a card. Very, very simple card. Very powerful effect, and nonetheless, a 1/3 blocker is quite useful in draft, especially coming out on turn 4. That still blocks a lot of threats, and Death Touch means that it still has play into the late game, and since it draws a card, it's almost always going to 2 for 1. Next up, we've got Shuri here. She is a 3-mana 1/1 with Hexproof. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gains your choice of haste, first strike, or menace until end of turn. This is a very powerful ability. She doesn't do a whole lot of fighting herself. Shuri doesn't. This is like not Black Panther Shuri. This is scientist in her lab Shuri, which is what the Hexproof is represented from. And when other creatures enter the battlefield, when other creatures come to her, she just kind of equips them. So she gives them haste, first strike, and menace. Haste, strike, first strike, or menace. Sorry. So if you want to have something come into the battlefield and start swinging right away, you can give it haste. If something's already been on the battlefield and you want to modify them, you can play something else small. Give the big creature first strike or menace to make them push through your opponent's blockers either way that way. The Shuri effect here is quite strong, but does require a lot of build around and a lot of creatures to make it work. Next up, we've got Wasp, a 4-mana 2/2 in white and blue. She has flying because she is a small little flyer guy. And whenever Wasp attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. She does not have any of like the unblockable stuff like Ant-Man does, because in Ant-Man and the Wasp, which we are obviously drawing this from, Wasp doesn't actually spend most of her fighting time in small form like Ant-Man. Ant-Man prefers to stay small and like punching people while he's still tiny, not very easy to hit. Wasp combines a lot of her martial artist techniques by just going small, going big, going small, going big, going small, going big. This kind of goes with her heist movie thing when she's hard to block with the flying. When she attacks, you tap target creature and defending player controls. Makes it easier for your other guys to get in. I think this is a very good effect, very powerful when you're trying to do a kind of a go wide or deal with an opponent's going tall strategy. And last up for this little section, we've got Yanrog. He is our 4-mana 2/2 in green and blue. He has reach, and when Yanrog enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This is admittedly not the most flavorful mechanically effect here, but we wanted to make sure that this could still work in... Like, we kind of needed this effect, basically. We needed the searching a basic land effect for Balance of the Cube. And Yanrog works. Yanrog is the villain of Captain Marvel. He is the Kree soldier that kind of, like, mentors Captain Marvel and, like, trains her. And then turns out that he betrayed, like, he mind-washed her and whatnot. He's got reach because he's got giant laser guns. And when he enters the battlefield, you search your library for a basic land card because they are searching for Earth. That's the kind of flavor here. It's not ideal, I'm not going to lie, but it's not bad to the point where I'm okay with it, and we needed this effect for the cube anyways, so I think it works fine. Next up, we've got Bambino. We're getting out of our Archon era. We're going back to normal cards here. Bambino is the giant laser gun thing that Coulson wields in Avengers 1. It is made out of the Destroyer armor from Thor 1. It is a 5-mana equipment, so it is colorless. When it has equip 3, and whenever equipped creature takes combat damage, destroy target creature. So this is representative of Coulson here wielding the gun. When he takes damage, when he is killed, then he shoots it. Bambino is the code name for this gun. The gun has a really long name that didn't really fit in the name text here, so we just went with Bambino. And last up for our creatures here, we've got the Iron Legion, a 4-mana 2/2 in colorless. When Iron Legion enters the battlefield, if it is a non-token, create a token copy of it. This is the Iron Legion that Tony Stark, or Iron Man, deploys in Age of Ultron to kind of deal with civilian casualties, right? Like try to protect the civilian population when the Avengers are out kicking ass, dropping buildings, taking names. This works really well with flicker effects, or if you can return it to hand, or play it again or return it from graveyard to battlefield. It just needs to enter the battlefield, not be cast. So any of these kinds of effects are quite useful with this. And next up, we've got our lands. So last time we showed off a bunch of lands that enter untapped. Those were all at rare. These are just here to kind of fill out our land slots. We do want multiple non-basic lands. Each of the movie packs is also going to have a non-basic land that synergizes with that pack specifically. So we're going to be getting a decent amount of lands to be draftable for this these games, so that you can like make sure that you're casting your spells. We've got Barton's Farm here as our red-green enters the battlefield tap. We've got Cap's Lake as our white-blue. This is in Germany where Cap is frozen underneath the lake. We've got Missouri as our white-green. This is kind of like a background shot of when, at the beginning of Guardians 2, the very, very opening scene, when Peter's mom and Ego are driving down a street. This is kind of like a background shot of that. We've got the Nevada Desert, where Thor's hammer is first found, in white-red. We've got the Raft, where all the prisoners are kept in Civil War, which is black-blue. We've got Sokovia, which I think this works really well. These don't have basic land types, but this is a forest island. It is a floating island of forests, which I thought this one was cool. So this is blue-green. We've got the Stark Expo, which is our blue-red, which goes with our like our Artificer theme. We've got Strucker's Base as our Hydra base for our black-red land. We've got the Triskelion as our black-white. The Triskelion is the shield base that ends up being revealed to be Hydra base and has to be taken down during Winter Soldier. And then we've got Wakanda as our black-green. And then, just rounding us out here real quick, we've got our Hulk token that is made from our Bruce Banner. So this is our 35 cards we got this time. Got a little bit more than last time for you guys. And I'm very excited that next time we will be showing off one of our movie packs. I'm undecided as of right now for which one it shall be, but it's probably going to be one of our villains packs that we're going to start off with. So I'm excited for that, and I hope you guys are too. We've been really enjoying this project. We've been really enjoying a lot of the comments. So keep that up. We love to see the inspiration from you guys. Any thoughts that you might have on any of these cards, please throw it down in the comments below. We are always reading that and always checking that out. And with that, we will see you guys next video. Peace.